Hey everybody, it's Mike Pingel from Collecting Haven. You think I would know my name on my show. Today we are going to meet Fred. Fred and his amazing autographs, his cars. He has a bunch of different array of collectibles, but it is an amazing room. We are going to dive right into it. Fred, thanks for coming to the show. Thank you for allowing me to look at your collection.
Well, thank you for inviting me on here. I really appreciate it. I like showing the collection, and I like your show, so this is working out real good.
Okay, thank you. That's what I need to hear. I need to hear the accolades. Thank you, thank you. It's not about me. It's all about you and your amazing. You have so many cars in that little room. And I did have a question about, before we start, I've been collecting, well, some cars for my collection for Charlie's Angels. Greenlight has been doing a lot of cars. They've been doing the 118, 124, 164, and I'm always so confused what the heck those mean. Can you give me a little one-on-one about the sizes of cars?
Sure, and it's always confusion. I'm going to show you 4 different examples. There are more examples because you get into a 117th scale, which is real small. You just really have to remember the highest number is usually the smallest. No, wait, yeah, the highest number is the smallest. And here's an example: here's 5 matchbox cars. These are considered 1/64 scale. So there's my hand, or here there's my hand. That's 1/64 scale. Now these over here are Corgi cars, and these are 1/32nd scale. So they're bigger than the 1/64th. So that's 1/32nd scale. Now the one over here, Richard Petty's car, that's 1/24 scale.
Okay.
And then one over here, if you put it over here like that, that's 1/18th scale.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's 1/18th, 1/24th, 1/32nd, and 1/64th. So actually the highest low, the second number, the highest is actually the smallest. Instead of, you would think it would be the opposite way around, but it's really not.
Is there any reason for that? Why it's not the other way around, like a normal person?
No, I don't know. No, you know what? I never looked that up. No, I don't know.
Okay, all right. Then I would just live with this in the rest of my life.
Oh, and there's also one other thing is, usually in 1/64 scale, these are considered loose. But then over here, you see that they're in, this is what they call blister pack. When it's in a blister pack like that, that's when it's sealed up and it hasn't been opened yet.
Yes. Fantastic. So, first up, I'm sorry, we forgot to mention your cameraman's name.
Oh, yeah, my cameraman. I'm sorry. My cameraman is my son, Fred. And here, turn it. Let me
flip it around. Let's see. There you are, Fred.
This is my son.
Good. So let's do a little question about Fred. How do you feel about your father collecting?
Well, his collecting's been part of my life, all my life. I don't know what I think about it. It's amazing, and I get to see all the history he's been through, all the pictures. You know, he takes thousands upon thousands of pictures, and I can see the growth that has been, not only through his collection, but also his age.
Oh, so it's kind of like showing his lifespan.
Exactly, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, look on.
Do you collect something, or do you just go with your father with collecting?
I just go with the flow, go collecting with my father. No, I don't collect on my own, no.
All right, great. Well, thank you. Well, thank you for doing the camera's work, too. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
Here, I'll give it back to him. And
Now, how's the camera work? Is it all doing well so
It's
far?
doing well. You're doing fantastic. You're
Great.
fantastic. So, Fred, how did you start collecting?
well, let me just show you one other thing about my son and how long he's been going on with my adventures.
Oh, please do.
Here's one example over here. This is my son in the Boy Scouts meeting Buzz Aldrin. And this is what he had signed was a Christmas ornament of so Fred too has been with my adventures of getting autographs for a long time. So
Well, it sounds like it was a good son. It's a good son and father bonding experience too. You get to go to fun places and do things.
well, come to think of that, is that just recently, last year, he graduated college, and with him being in college, sometimes you lose contract. You lose contact of each other. About what each other's thinking. So one of the first things we did the day he got out of college is we went to an autograph session at the World of Wheels where Tony Stewart was at. And you see all these autographs, you have to realize some of these autographs, you have to wait in line for hours.
Wow, yeah.
And we did. We waited in line for 3 hours. But the funny thing about waiting in line for 3 hours is that by the time it was time to meet Tony Stewart, me and my son we were talking and we caught up with each other. So it's people wouldn't wait in line for 3 hours, waiting for an autograph. What I do, but the thing is, it all depends on what you do at that time when you're waiting in line.
Exactly.
And yeah, and so it worked out good because by the time we left that show, we already knew we were back on the same page again. So
Oh, good. And then you didn't have to talk for 3 weeks. Good to hear.
Yeah.
All right, so back into to my questions. How did you begin collecting? What was the first thing that bit you to collect?
Actually, it was my dad. He's the one who started this big mess. My dad, on my 5th birthday, he took me to the nearest hobby shop. And at that time, Hot Wheels didn't even come out yet. And so they had matchbox cars. And my dad said, you're 5 years old, you can pick out 5 cars. And these are the 5 cars that I picked out. Yeah, these are still the original ones that I have. And those were the Jaguar, the Lincoln Continental, the Volkswagen. This is another Jaguar. So those were the first original cars that started me on collecting. And then when I got older, then I started collecting Hot Wheels. But as for collecting autographs, now that happened like in 1990.
Oh.
And they had a show in Chicago called HeroCon. And it was the first time they were going to have Batman, Adam West, and Van Williams, who was the Green Hornet, and about 10 other celebrities were going to be there. And yeah, it was only going to be $15. So
what?
I went, yeah, $15
Per person or the whole group?
No, just for getting in the door. You didn't have to pay for autographs. You just got in the door and you could meet all these celebrities. It was one of the first celebrity autograph sessions that they had out. And so here I took the Corgi 1/32 scale. And at the time, I wasn't taking pictures with a 33 millimeter camera. I was actually taking pictures with a Polaroid camera. So I took pictures of them autographing it. And then I'd also have them sign the Polaroid picture too. So it worked out great. They all signed in white. And once I got those 2 cars, I was hooked. I thought, this is the greatest thing ever. You can't get better than this, than getting your toys signed and then getting a picture of them autographing it.
Oh my gosh.
And then,
and you know how much that would be worth today? Those would be worth at least I don't know, a lot. I mean, I think they were at least doing $150 a signature before they passed away. So
Exactly.
those are worth a lot of money.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear.
Fred has that. Fred, that is your retirement right there.
You know what? This whole collection, this whole experience, and taking the pictures of every autograph, I just like collecting.
Yeah.
But it was always an investment for me anyhow. But I figured since I like collecting anyhow, that's why I took all the pictures every time someone gave me an autograph. But the funny thing is, I thought everybody was doing that. I thought it was just natural. I thought it was common sense that if you got an autograph, you took a picture of it for proof.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? That's not
The case.
truth. I went to a stick and ball sports show, and they had Jerry Rice signing autographs for $100 a pop. For $100, they were selling his autograph, and I waited in line. I didn't buy his autograph. I was watching the line as it proceeded, and there had to be at least 100, 200 people there getting his autograph, and not one of those people that were in line getting his autograph took a picture of him autographing it. I'm like, I can't believe this. And then I went around to the show, and there was a lot of people selling autographs, but not one of them had a picture of it. They usually go by COAs, a certificate of authenticity.
Yep.
And I couldn't believe it. And that's when I realized I was on the right track. Is that I know, because if no one's doing it, then, and I'm the only one doing it, because even with I used to go to the speedways and get all these autographs.
Yeah. And
other people were getting autographs and no one else was doing it. So it was, and then this car right here was the start of doing that. It was, they had a autograph show that was in Rockford, and they had 4 drivers there, 4 of the legends. One was Richard Petty. And so I went there and I got Richard Petty's autograph on the car. And that was the start of all this of all the NASCAR autographs. Yeah, because what happened was, after I got that autograph, I decided to go to the Milwaukee Mile Speedway. And the first year I went there, I think it was 1994, and I realized that you could get an autograph, you could get a pit pass that lasted 3 days. It cost $50.
oh wow.
And for that, yeah, I know. For that $50, it was good for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which was on an off weekend of the Winston Cup. So, turn around. So these guys, since it was on an off weekend, these major legends would be at that racetrack. Anywhere between 8 to 14 of these Winston Cup legends would go to that racetrack and race in the Busch race or race in the truck race. And then another thing I found out was that pit pass, which only cost $50, wasn't just a pit pass. It was actually a garage pass. And you were actually allowed in the garage. So you not only just watched them, you could meet them and shake their hands and talk to them or whatever. So when I found that out, I would carry this big bag that I had, and I would find out exactly who was going to be there. And then I would just buy all their stuff all that year. And I would show up at the racetrack with a whole carload of stuff. And then I would fill up that bag with every driver that was going to be there. And then I would just walk up and down the pits, and I would get their autographs until half that bag was finished. And then I'd go back to the car, I would empty it out, and then fill it up again. And that was the start of this. when I would ask for an autograph, I would ask like for 4 autographs. One with a big card, one with a 1/18 scale, one with a 1/24 scale, maybe a magazine, maybe a blister pack. So I would get 4 autographs. I get 1 picture with them, and then I'd go on to the next driver. So it was nonstop. I would, after the end of a 3-day weekend, I would end up with about anywhere between 250 to 350 autographs. I was taking these pictures with 33 millimeter camera.
Yeah.
So I would end up with about like 35 rolls of film that I would have to develop. And then what I do is I would cut, after I got the pictures back, I would separate them and then cut the negative and tape the negative to the back of the picture. So for each autograph, if anyone was to buy from me, you would not just get the card. You would get the card, the autograph, the picture, and the negative. So that's how I ended up with over 5,000 autographs. Is that went on? So just recently.
Do they not do the pit thing anymore?
No, that's it. They quit the races at Milwaukee, and so now they have other speedways that do it. But guess what? You can't buy a pit pass, a 3-day pit pass for $50 anymore. Now it's like $250.
Yeah.
And then also, you can't even meet these guys directly. I mean, you go in the pits, and what happens is they have like a window to their garage,
mm-hmm.
and it's just like a cashier's. You put the item in there, and they take it, and then they sign it like that. In which I don't understand how you would be able to take a picture of them autographing them anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the experience they have now, and so I don't go anymore because the prices are like 5 times more, and your experience is way less than it used to be. So it's
you were there during the magical time to get all that stuff done.
Well, that's why I did what I did, because when I first seen it, I realized this is not going to last forever. And I'm going to take full advantage of it right now. And actually, I know, well, the thing is, I thought it was going to close down right away. And actually, it didn't close down for 15 years. And so like every year it was the same. In fact, some years I was kind of hoping. In fact, one year I heard that they weren't going to open. And finally, I sat back and I went, oh, well, that was a good run. Thank God that's over with. Maybe I can sit back and finally enjoy the race. And then all of a sudden, someone come running to me and say, they opened up, and boom, I ran into my car, got my stuff, and there I went back to work again. In fact, I worked hard at it. I worked so hard at this. It was harder than actually my real job. I mean, sometimes I'm out there with 95-degree weather, walking up and down the pit, and I don't know. I don't even know how I did it. I'm surprised I didn't faint a couple of times.
Were you able to watch the actual race at any point?
Well, actually I did, but what I would do is when the race started, because you knew you couldn't get an autograph because all the drivers were out there. And so I would park my car in the infield, which that only cost $10 a day. So for those 3 days, I would park my car in the infield, and I had to be the first one in to get a good spot. And then when the race started, I would go to my car and sit on top of I had a Jeep at the time. I'd sit on top of my Jeep and I would watch the whole race. But
that's fantastic. So what is your most prized possession in that room?
Well, the most prized, well, see now, even though you see all these all these NASCAR, I'm still a Hot Wheels fan at heart. I did lose it for a while, but
your heart or your Hot Wheels?
Or both. See, I showed, this is my Hot Wheel red line rainbow that I have, And I've got most of these. Some of them were my original cars, but I have went through 3 Hot Wheel collections. One, when I first started, I had them all. I lived in an apartment building, and I had them in 6 different dish packs in the basement. And I spoke to too many people that I had this collection, and one day I came home and they were all gone, everything.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they were nicely packed and easy to carry off. And my wife, I think it was the first time my wife seen me cry, because I went downstairs to put in my weekly find, and I found out that they were all gone. So I was devastated. So I started another collection of Hot Wheel cars, and I started saving, and some I was paying high priced and everything. But then Hot Wheels, well, first off, to me, finding Hot Wheels, the original ones, was the find. It was to find the cars, the color codes, because they came in 12 different color codes, and it was. At the time, I was a United Van Lines driver. I owned my own truck. I would go coast to coast, and I would load here and go to California, Florida, whatever. And I would find out. I know this is a long story for what I like the most, but what I would do is, after I load, I find out I'm going to California. There's this paper here called Toy Shop Paper.
Oh, I remember it well. So well.
Yeah. And so I would check in here, because in here they would tell you all the toy shows of the whole United States. So I would find out where I was going, and then I would check this where the nearest and the biggest toy shows were at. And then sometimes I would leave a day early just to get to that toy show. Oh, and besides that, this Toy Shop paper just so happened to have me in it. So there's the autograph hound, Chicago Collector does the more than collect. So I was actually
nice.
That's another reason why I like this paper.
I was highlighted also.
So I would actually go, and I would love going to toy shows and finding that special Hot Wheels, that color that you were looking for. What really, I think, made me mad about Mattel was Mattel, in their 25th anniversary, they remade some older models. And I thought that was very, I didn't really like that, because I thought, well, now if I was to sell my collection, I would have lost buyers that would have bought that car for $25, that now they could buy the same car, the same style, for $2.
Yeah.
And another thing is, at the same time, the internet opened up. And I finally realized, because I was trying to make my collection to be the best. I always try to be the best. Yeah. And with the internet coming along, I realized that it doesn't matter about you being the best anymore. Anybody else can be the best that is willing to spend the most money, because they can find anything on the internet now. It's not just to find. They can build their own collection. If they're willing to spend $1 million, they're going to have the best collection. So what you don't believe is, if you see this whole room was covered with Hot Wheel cars. And I got so mad that I boxed everything up and I sold it at auction. And it was, well, yeah, I did. It was, also, I was already into autographs.
Okay.
And so I was running out of room, and I had to make more room for autograph cars. So yeah, I figured I had to make a choice. Do I go collect autographs, or do I still stick with the Hot Wheels?
Yeah.
And so I got rid of the whole collection at auction. It really did well, because I did a lot of promotion, and it did pretty good. But now you see the prices of how Hot Wheels cars are now today. I think to myself, maybe I sold a little bit too soon, but, but I don't know. You know, Freddie can tell you. In fact, here, I'm going to give it. Freddie can tell you that he has helped me at going to toy shows and selling, and tell him how those experiences are.
It was a fun experience. We were able to sell someone's collection. Some people were, I guess, some people were like him. They would be looking at it, they would be amazed at how cheap it was at the time, and they'll buy it right away. So, I don't know. It was an amazing experience with selling some in the collection with him.
Did you find that people kind of haggled you down for the prices?
I mean, I didn't know what the price was. They'll say, "Oh, you want to buy? You want to sell for this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead."
Well, here, the reason why I brought that up about selling at toy shows, we've done it a couple of times, and Fred has always helped me out, and it was always a great pleasure, a great experience doing it. But it wasn't until the experience till days afterwards, and I would think to myself, "Oh my God, you won't believe this! I had a doll, a Vanna White doll, signed by Vanna White, and I sold it." Now I think to myself, I still have the picture of it, but I think to myself, why did I do that? But see, you invest all this money to go to the toy show because you got to pay for the tables and your time, and maybe you rented a truck to get there or whatever. So you want to make sure you come out even. So you want to make sure you sell enough stuff to even make sure you come out even. We've been lucky; we've made money, but still, that thing, the regret a week later is like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Okay, well, the answer to your question now, I've been. This is my third
collection. Wow.
My third collection. Now, a lot of these have been bought now through resale shops, where when I first started going to resale shops, you could buy 5 cars for $1. And sometimes they would be red lines like this or whatever. So then I started buying again. But another thing what I started doing was getting Hot Wheels autographed. Because I realized, okay, I can't be the best at getting all of Hot Wheels. But you know what I can be the best? I can be the best at getting autographs.
There you go.
That's right. Once you get autographs, you know what? I can be the best. My cars, no one will have, because no one will have those autographs. Yep. So then I found out, yes, I can be the best at doing it. So that's what I started doing. And so here is just an example of some of the stuff. Here is George Barris signed a blister pack of the Batmobile. Here is Don Perdone, NHRA dragster, and he signed the blister pack, and there he is signing it. But here is something that is different. This is the late Buddy Baker. And this is the first time Hot Wheels made a NASCAR, original NASCAR. And Buddy Baker was the driver of that car. And Buddy Baker, the late Buddy Baker, has signed all 4 of these cars. Now, what makes these cars different, you would think, well, why would I want 4 of these cars? I mean, why shouldn't I get rid of at least 3 of them? Why do I want 4? Because the one thing about getting autographs is that once you get them autographed, each one of them is still different. Like this one, he's in a white shirt. He's signed in blue in the back. This one, he's in a blue coat, and he's signed in gold on the back. This one, he's in a white shirt, but he's signed in black in the front. And this one, he's in a blue shirt, and he's signed in gold on the back window. So even though they're all the same, that means they're still all different. So that's And here's one of my favorite. This is one of the favorite things that I have. This is a 1/18 scale Dioria 2 Hot Wheels made. And what I have is Chip Foose signed it, and Chip Foose was the creator of this car. And then what I've been doing is getting everybody that I know that has been associated with Hot Wheels to sign it. And I have all those pictures. It's like, this is Danica Patrick. Now, who's Danica? Why is Danica Patrick associated with Hot Wheels? Well, Hot Wheels once sponsored her Hot Wheels car, her NASCAR. So, and there's Larry Woods, who was one of the main designers. There's Mike Zornick, who's one of the best known Hot Wheels collector. And the one thing about this is that this car is like 10 years in the making. This just didn't happen overnight. This has been to about like 5 different shows. And so every time I bring it, I meet someone new that's associated with Hot Wheels, and I have them sign it. So that's why, and also I had, well, thank you very much. There's Chip Foose signing the magazine that the car first came out in.
Nice.
So
that's nice.
And not only that, now I'm into a new thing it's even funnier, is that I've taken it to a Hot Wheels show where they had the real Dioria 2 at. So what I've done was I've taken a picture of it with this car on top of the real one. And so now I know it started into a whole new way of collecting, because now I have all my Hollywood cars. I'm trying to get them all pictured with the real cars. Like this one, this is another Hot Wheels car. Now I'll tell you a story about this one. This is the Beatnik Bandit. This is signed by Cody Roth, who is Ed Roth's son. Ed Roth is since passed away. He was the creator of this car. And Hot Wheels in 1967 made this car in the 1/64 scale. So I went to the World of Wheels for the first time. Well, it wasn't for the first time, but it was the first time to meet Ed Roth. Ed Roth his name is Ed Big Daddy Roth, who was also the creator of Rat Fink. I don't know if you remember Rat Fink.
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't remember Rat Fink? Oh, well, that's the one thing for the. He was in about 1967 when he was created. He made him off of. It was the bad side of Mickey Mouse. That's how he created him.
He looks like a bad side.
Anyhow, so I went to the World of Wheels to meet Ed Roth, and I knew he made the Hot Wheels Beatnik Bandit. I had 3 of them, and I had 2 blister packs, and I'm ready to meet him. And as soon as he sees me, he says, "I'm not signing any of those Hot Wheel cars." I said, "What do you mean? This is your car." He says, "No." He says, "Hot Wheel made these cars without my permission." He says, "They never even asked me, and they never paid for me." He says, "So I don't sign anything Hot Wheels." So I was like almost devastated. I'm like, oh, I bought all these Hot Wheel cars. I even had a 5-pack. And luckily I had some magazines for him to sign, but he did sign them. So later on, this didn't even exist. The 1/18 scale didn't even exist yet. Finally, Hot Wheels, I guess they did make an agreement with Ed Roth. And they did, he was mad because they didn't use the original paint job. They used the Spectrum colors, the 12 Spectrum colors, when he thought they should use the real colors of this. But So I bought this. It wasn't 6 months after I bought this that, unfortunately, Ed Roth passed away. So I never had a chance to get him to sign it. So just last year, I went to the World of Wheels, and they had his son there, and his son was nice. He doesn't customize cars, but he sells a lot of Ed Roth stuff, and he was nice enough to sign it. But they also had the real Beatnik Bandit there, and they had it close enough to the thing where I put this car right on top of the tire of the real one, and I filmed it and walked around the whole thing. It took a film and pictures of this car sitting on top of the real one. It turned out fantastic. So, like I said, that's my newest thing now is getting these cars, the Hollywood cars, put up right on top of the real ones.
Wow. Wow.
So it's funny how a collection will evolve, and a collection is almost like a living thing, and it all has to do with your accessibility. Like in the beginning, I started collecting Matchbox Hot Wheels. That's what my accessibility was. Hot Wheels. I was like 12 years old. I started. I collected all my allowance just to get these cars.
Yeah.
Then later on, it was going to NASCAR races, and I had the accessibility to do that, and that's how I got into that. And now that they closed down, now I go to resale shops, and I buy and that's the great thing about these phones now, right? I mean, if I see a toy that I don't even recognize, I go right to the phone, find out what year, what company, and I can look it up and see what it's worth or what it is. And it's great. I mean, now I find
it's like a little computer right now, you can find out anything about whatever's in front of you, if it's worth anything, should you have it, do you have it, etc. It's an amazing thing. Not like,
yeah, I know. It's fantastic. And now that I don't go to races anymore, for 12 years my job changed, and I wasn't doing what I was doing before, moving or whatever. Now I was delivering record stores for lawyers and doctors downtown, and so I had like a schedule where I could go downtown, deliver the thing, but then I would get an hour off for lunch, and I could go wherever I wanted to. And doing so, I realized that I had accessibility to resale shops. There was like 8 resale shops that I would go to every week. And in that every week, I would find stuff that was unreal. Like this thing here, I picked this up for $2. And this is a slot car of, I forgot the name of this car. The silhouette. Oh, I forget. But this thing is worth about $200 or more. I bought it for $2. So what I'm showing you is the best finds that I've found in a resale shop so far. And that's, I couldn't believe the price when I seen it. I had to buy it.
That's amazing. That's an amazing buy. So let's go throughout your collection. Let's show me what's on the walls. Show me what's happening in the whole room. Let's show the viewers what's happening. Yeah. Let's start from the beginning. When you walk down, what do you see first?
All right. Okay. We'll show you this. This is my collection of magazines. Now, these are all the magazines that I've had autographed through the years, either for NASCAR, NHRA. Most of them are done by George Barris, and those are the older ones. The magazines from 1960s. These are called like Model Car Science, and also Rod and Custom. Most of them are done by George Barris, but also some other ones. And the reason why is I have so many. I have about like 250 autographs of George Barris, and I'll tell you a reason how I got that before. Then this is my collection of large cars, of Speed Racer, and also this poster here is not just a regular poster. I don't think you can see it on the camera, but this is one of those special 3D posters that were only given to the theaters to advertise that the movie was coming out. In fact, I just got this thing. It's fantastic. It's if you see it in person, it really pops. But these are my big cars, and also, like I said, I started buying at resale shops, and I could buy these for $2 a piece. I could buy action figures for $5 for $1, and so I had all these Hollywood cars, so I started adding figures to these cars, and so
Nice.
here over, yeah, I know it's $5 for $1. I couldn't beat it, so I started.
Can't beat that price. No, you can't. Got to do it.
Well, especially now you can't even get that. And when I first started, I was like here is Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park. This thing's over $100, and here I bought it like for $2, and so I really started getting into action figures of the aliens, of robots, of any kind of action figures ever. Also Jurassic Park, and also Godzilla, King Kong. It's once I started, I couldn't stop. Well, I tell you what stopped me is price. You can't buy them for $5 for $1 anymore. It's funny. Now what I see at resale shops is everybody has a phone, and they're not collectors anymore. They're
Resellers.
They're sellers. They're not collectors anymore. They're sellers. So so because of that, the prices have gone up. So now it's really hard to find something that's really worthwhile to buy anymore. But this is my Hollywood 1/18 scale collection, and so most of them are. I have about half of them autographed with picture proof. Most of them are autographed by George Barris, but there's a lot of other stuff that people that have autographed. I was going to tell you, the reason why I have over 250 autographs by George Barris is because for the longest time, he wasn't doing shows. And then, unfortunately, his wife passed away. And when his wife passed away, he started doing shows again, which was great for me. So I met him the first time, and I brought a bunch of stuff. And what I would do, I realized that anytime I went up to his table, he had a table selling stuff, but he was giving autographs for free. And there would be 10 people in line. So I'd get in line, and I'd hit the same thing. I would have him sign 4 things and get a picture taken with him. And then what I would do is I would walk down the aisle, see the rest of the cars. I would come back, and then I would get in line again. Then I'd have him sign 4 more things. So by the end of the night, I'd have at least 50 things signed by him. So I would bring the 1/18 scale cars. I would bring magazines. I would bring the blister packs. I would bring everything. And he was more than happy to sign everything. Through the years, he started to come up the Volo Auto Museum, which is Volo, Illinois. And they had his cars, his real cars there. He had the stars of the cars there. And he would also visit there once a year. And so, yeah, between all that, I ended up with over 250 autographs from him. And like I said, the same thing with the NASCAR. I knew this wasn't going to last forever. So I just did as much as I could. And in fact, in the end, before he unfortunately passed away, they even got wise to that some of his helpers, I don't know who they were, I think they were related to him, they did start charging $5, $10 per autograph. So that sort of stopped that for me. Freddie has met him. And in fact, I don't Freddie has made for a high school project, not a high school, a grade school project, made a poster of him and his work. The teacher only gave him a C. It was fantastic. The teacher only gave him a C, but we went.
What?
And yeah, I couldn't believe it myself.
That's crazy.
But I know. And then we took it and we showed it, and he was charging $10 per autograph. But when he seen that it was a project, he signed it for free. So
he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
So this on the bottom here is still the Hollywood collection, but this is my horror collection. There's the Scooby-Dooby-Doo. There's Christine, Ghostbusters, The Car, Twilight. Also, what's Nicolas Cage? I forget. And the Monsters.
Oh, that's
and like I said, all these figures you see in there, I bought like $4. So I just once the figures got involved, I couldn't stop. So then here's some more autographed, more magazines. They're all the same kind, stock car racing magazines. So it's one just display. Now, I didn't show you that I didn't show the display of the. This is how I store and display my Hot Wheel cars. Now over here, if you see all the blue and red and black containers, they all hold cars. So I have them all separated compared to when I buy them at resale shops. I buy them and separate them and put them in their appropriate cases. But then I have this case right here. If you look, it fits perfectly underneath the stairs the way the shape is. And what this is a Woolworths. I don't know if you remember the store Woolworths.
Oh, I do. Yes, I do.
Well, my wife, she was a manager of a Woolworths store, so I got these things for free. So this is a Woolworths sewing spool thread display, and then I took it and I made it into a Hot Wheels display case. And so, like, here's I got a lot of the Hot Wheel cars. And this is how I keep them separated too from, from different sources of Hot Wheel cars. If they're red lines, if they're flying colors, if they're older cars. So I keep them all separated, and it makes I've never seen a case like this ever. So if you notice in my collection, I have a lot of Timex cases. Well, that's
a beautiful. That's a nice thing.
Yeah, well, the Timex cases also I got through Woolworths through my wife, because when Woolworths went out of business, they really had no place to go. And since they had no place to go, this was the best place for them to go.
Gave them a good home. You gave them a good home. Repurposed.
Well, thank you. So over here is some of the boards, some of the light tables that I have that are autographed. And this is one whole unit. And I've had them at 4 different races. One is the NHRA race, one is the Indy race, and one is the NASCAR race. And then I would take their pictures as they're autographed. And this is my artwork, but somehow the lighting has deteriorated the artwork that was underneath it, but still the autographs are still good. So, yeah, so I get anything and everything autographed. Anything I can figure that is associated with it. This is actually Hot Wheels. This is Hot Wheels 1/24 scale NASCAR cars, and every one of these are. That's like I said, I love Hot Wheels. And so I try to be the best Hot Wheel collector there is by collecting autographs, because I don't think no one else does it like this. So these are all Hot Wheel NASCAR 1/24 scale, and they're all autographed, all with picture proof. This right here is my Dale Earnhardt Jr. fender. And this is from when he first started racing. He was racing at Milwaukee Mile, and for practice he wrecked into the wall, third corner wall. When they brought the car in, they cut this piece off to transfer some of the items to his backup car. And I ended up with this, and then later on, 6 months later, I had him autograph it. So that's. So
should I ask how you got it? Because, or are you going to get arrested for how you got it?
Well, I think it's past limitations now. Actually, if you notice the pictures, see, I also took pictures for proof. If you look at the top picture over here, the top picture shows the car with the piece still on it. The second picture shows the car with it wrecked, and they're starting to cut it off. The third picture shows that they already put it and they put it on the ground. There's a picture of me with the car in the background. Well, when the third picture, when they have it on the ground, there was 200 of his fans looking at them do this. And I walked, if you notice, their back is towards facing us. So I leaned forward and I walked up to it and I picked it up like I was inspecting it. And then I did a 180 and I walked away. And the most fantastic thing was 200 fans, you could hear them go, "Oh!" And I took off running. So then I put it in my car and I went back to autograph it. The next day, I was hoping I could get it autographed by Dale Earnhardt, but the thing is, Junior. But the thing is, he chipped a bone in his shoulder, and he wasn't going to do any signing. So, but I did get the crew chief to sign it, and then 6 months later, that's another story. 6 months later, well, there's a show that was being held in Chicago. It's called the National Driving Championship Recognition Dinner. Now, with this dinner, Championship Drivers Dinner, for 6 years they held it in the Chicago area. And for the first year, I wanted to go. That it cost, I think it was costing $150 per plate to go to this dinner. And they would have all the championship drivers there, especially the guys that would run in the IROC series. Why the IROC series? Because the guy that was holding it, Dan Cotter, was the CEO for True Value Hardware Stores. So, and he was, all the money that went for this dinner would go to the boys club that was named after Dan Cotter. Now, this is the first time I heard about it. This is the 25th anniversary of it. Actually, when I went for the first time, it was the 19th one they had, and they just changed to Rosemont, a big convention center. So I worked that day. I didn't get to go, but then when I'm driving home, I realized I could see where they were holding it right there while I was driving. So I pulled off the road. I went over there. I figured, well, I'm going to take a look. So I looked in, and I could see they had the big doors open, and I could see cars in there because they would have the cars of the drivers in there. And I thought, well, I'm going to get a better look. So I parked the car. I went in, and as I walked up to the door, now you have to realize I worked for United Van Lines. So I had blue coat, light blue shirt, dark blue pants. Well, that was the same uniform that the security was wearing at that time. So as I walked onto the door, security was there, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he went like that, gave me a nod, and I gave him a nod. And the next thing I know, I walked right in. Now, so And just as I walked in, the house lights went down and the whole show started. And what they would do is they would introduce all the NASCAR drivers, and they would talk about them and stuff like that. And then after they ended one guy, they would do another guy, and they went on to the NHRA, the Indy guys, all that. So the next year, I showed up an hour early, and I got there before anybody. So I'd get in there for free. And I wore my United uniform, but I wore it like I had a badge. So everybody thought I was security. So I would actually, during the event, I would guard the stairs of the guys going up. And I would carry a big flashlight. So when they were showing a film of what that driver did, the driver would go up the stairs. I would turn on my flashlight and help him up the stairs. And so I had the best seat in the house. For 6 years, I had the best seat in the house. And that's how I got that autograph, because I had that into a bag on my 6th year. And Dale Earnhardt was one of the championship drivers. I hid it underneath the deck. And when he went to leave, I knew when all the NASCAR guys were going to leave. When he went to leave, the funny thing is they had new security there. And the new security earlier that day came up to me and asked me, "Oh, do you work here?" I says, "Yeah, I help out. Here, yeah." And they said, "Well, this is our first year doing it. How do you do it?" And I says, "Well, you put 2 guys in the beginning of people checking in. I says, you put one guy at the door where they come in, and then you have 1 floater." And they're asking me how to do it. So I knew I wanted to get this thing signed by Dale Earnhardt Jr. So right when they went to leave, I grabbed my bag, whipped out the thing, went to have Dale Earnhardt sign it, and all these security people are looking at me like, "What is going on here?" And so I got it. And it was the first time out of 6 years I left early, because they were all looking at me like, who is this guy? So, and then one time, I forget, I think it was during the 4th year, I think they switched security systems, and I knew who the hotel manager was. I knew who he was. And one time I seen him coming directly at me. He's looking at me, and I know he's wondering what the heck am I doing there, because they just switched over security, and here I am. He's coming at me, and I'm thinking, what do I do? And I look at my watch, I go, darn it. And then he stops dead. And he realized, well, I guess he thought that I didn't want to be there either. So then he did a 180 and went someplace else. So it was, but all good things come to an end. That thing lasted 6 years. Every year I would call my wife, and I would say, "I made it in." And then she said, well, she expected a call that I would get arrested, but they never did arrest me. In fact, I was hoping they would start paying me, because I was doing a pretty good job at that.
Yeah, I think you should have asked for pay. I think you should ask. Hey, listen. Tell me a little bit about why Ronald McDonald's right there beside you.
Oh, this guy. Ronald McDonald's is a friend of mine, a real good friend of mine, gave it to me. They were throwing them out, and they were supposed to crush him. And so instead of crushing him, he gave me a call, wanted to know if I wanted him. I said, darn right I want him. So, and ever since then, I've had him, and I haven't had no autographs on him. I could never do that. But here, I'll show you just what a robot he is. You take off his chest plate, and here are all the air. He works off of air. So he was connected to a great big thing, an air compressor, and so his arms move and everything else like that. And I've always wanted to hook him up, because I know for a fact these airlines work, because I blew into the airlines and they did move. But I never had a chance to really set him up the way he was. But I never had the heart to get rid of him yet, because He's one of a kind.
Yeah, he's amazing.
It's scary, ain't he? Especially when realize it. We used to have them up at Halloween. We'd put them up in the by the windows, and we would get fantastic people coming up there trying to take pictures with them.
Oh my goodness, that's hysterical.
Here's his legs. His legs come off. But the thing is, see, they're made out of rubber, and if they get a cut, it's some kind of special rubber, but that if they get a cut, it flows out. And that's what happened to this arm, is that it got a cut and it just liquefied and it came all to nothing. And all you seen was the metal framework in the arms. And guess how I fixed it up like that? Even though it looks better than what it was, but guess how I fixed it up?
I don't know. Mustard?
Well, this is how my son helps me out. This is actually his cast when he was a kid that he broke his arm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so and he didn't never had no interest in the cast, and it was in a shelf, and he never seen it for a while and all that. And just by chance, I took it out, and I said, "God darn, it fits pretty good." So I put it together, painted it up. I said, "Well, that one looks all right." So then years later, after I did that, my son says, "Where's my cast?" I said, he said, "I can't find it." I says, "Well, I know where it's at. I don't know if you don't want to know where it's at." He said, "Well, where is it?" So I took him downstairs and said, "Well, there's your cast." So, yeah, he's helped me out many ways, even ways that he didn't even know. So, yeah.
Oh, my God. This has been amazing. This has been an amazing look at your collection. You have just wonderful memories, wonderful things. We could go on for another hour, but I'm sure your son's arm is a little tired now with filming. So what are you looking for? What is the main thing you're looking for? Is there something you desire or you really want to get for your collection?
Oh, I'm at a point right now where I've collected enough that the stuff that I would want is like nearly impossible, so I don't even think about it. I would like the NASCAR. I would like the speedways to get back to where they were before I could do that again. But as one certain item, no, I'm having more fun going to resale shops and finding special things. Before we go, can I show you some other stuff?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. These two things are finds that I found at resale shops that were unbelievable. This is a Hot Wheels, what they call Zowies, and they were all in one plastic bag for $2. Here, let me open it up. And the thing was, the top four, each one of those are about $50 a piece.
Okay, so what is a Zowie? What is a Zowie?
Hot Wheels Zowies are, I forget what scale this is. This is even smaller than 1/64 scale. And they were made by Mattel in 1973. And they only made them like for 2 years. And so they're like one of the smallest Hot Wheel cars that they've made. And for $2 for that whole set was unbelievable to find.
That is a good one. They probably stopped making them because the kids were eating them and dying, probably.
Probably.
They're very small. I mean, I hope no one did.
I never thought about that, but you're probably right.
That's probably what happened.
This is one of my finds at a resale shop for $10. They had the car and the two action figures of the Bionic Woman and the Bionic Woman
Fembot.
robot. Yeah, right. Exactly.
The Fembot.
Fembot, right. And that, for $10 they had this for sale. I had to grab it up, whatever.
That car probably goes for, I think, $200. Does I have
What?
it does.
I didn't know that.
I think that car goes for a lot. I have a lot of collectors that don't have that car. Yes, it goes.
Whoa, really?
For a lot of money.
Okay, well, I was
I think
going to show
women's
you
very collectible.
Oh, well, thank you. You know what? I was going to show you my most expensive things in the collection, but I think now you just beat that.
Well, what is the most expensive thing in your collection?
I have 9 Dale Earnhardt Senior autographs, and some of them, at least two of them were sit down, real easy autographs, where they're the best autographs of Dale Earnhardt Sr. that you'll ever see. So right here, all 9, and this was the show that I first met Dale Earnhardt. It was the Celebrity Sports Carnival. They used to have like 20 sports guys come in to do the show because it was for, I think, Special Olympics. And see, I live in Chicago. And the best thing about living in Chicago is that, this is a stick and ball sports city. And everybody's been brainwashed to watch stick and ball sports. So whenever NASCAR comes in, no one goes to the NASCAR signings. So meeting Dale Earnhardt for the first time, there wasn't hardly anybody in line. In fact, he signed all these cars, and I ran out of things for him to sign. So I know, it's unbelievable.
Crazy.
This is one of the best Dale Earnhardt autographs you'll ever see, and it's on a Matchbox first edition hauler.
That's very
nice. And here is a one of a kind, because this is a paperweight, and it's signed by Dale Earnhardt, Dale Earnhardt Sr., Jr., and Ron Holiday and Speed Parks, and it's a crystal for Burger King, because they were once sponsored by Burger King. You'll never see that, because I bought this thing at a resale shop for $5. And here,
wow,
this is the best one. The 1/18 scale Dale Earnhardt car. And here, that is the best autograph Dale Earnhardt Sr. that I've ever seen. So and those things go, so like, just in one sitting, I think, I met him 3 different times, but just in one sitting, I got 7 autographs. And actually, one of the autographs I sold at one of our toy shows, and that's one of the things I regret selling. I should have never sold it. Okay, since we're in a hurry, we're coming down to the end. There's this one thing I have to show you, and I showed you my McDonald's collection. Well, this is one of the things. Besides that being the first, this is one of the weird things that I've had signed. It's a McDonald's paperweight that has a coin on it, and it is signed by 25 McDonald's drivers that all been sponsored by McDonald's, and they're on the sides and they're on the bottom, and that's including like Tony Stewart and Bill Elliott, and so it's stuff like this that I have no idea what the price would be or how much it would cost, how much to sell it for. But like this thing, it's all picture proof, and I don't know how that would go.
I don't know. It's a perfect thing. It's a perfect thing. Wow, you have so much. Thank you for showing.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us. I appreciate it.
It's amazing. Where can people find you if they have items they want you to sell you or give you or talk about, maybe give you some money for something like that Bionic Woman thing? Yes.
Hey, $22, you know, I mean, $2,200, you can contact me at Frederick Weichmann on Facebook. Or if you want to look at my collection, you can go to Flickr and look up Fred Weichmann II, the second. And my whole collection is on Flickr. So each piece is on there. So you can go to there, or you can go to Facebook and contact me directly.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. It was an amazing. You have an amazing collection. What I love most is you have actually the item, them signing it, pictures of them signing it, and then a picture with you of them with the item signed. That's amazing. Authenticity, like times 10 right there. It's amazing.
Well, thank you very much.
And it sounds like you were doing it. It sounds like you were doing it before anybody else was, and it's amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I always like it when someone appreciates my work, and that's and I do. I take it as work, because to make something like this, that's like artwork, you know. And so that is actually an advertisement for Exide batteries for Kmart, and they were throwing that out, and I when they were throwing them out, I went to 4 Kmart stores and bought, and not bought them, but they were given to me. And the drivers would sign them. They would look at it and say, good enough to be NASCAR. I wouldn't even have to ask them to sign it. They would sign it. So that was actually the first thing that started multi-autographs. So it's, thank you. Thank you very much. I know my son already knows that I talk too much. You know, when we first said we were doing the show, I said, I don't know if I could talk that long. He says, Dad, you're fine. You'll do great. So thank you for working with us.
I've done yet. So yes, you're just super fine. You're super fine.
All right.
Thank you so much for hanging with me today and showing me your collection. And I hope everybody out there loves this collection. Please share this with your friends, neighbors, even your enemies if you want to. Please post it below. Any comments, anything you want to talk about, or if you know somebody who wants a collector who wants to be on my show. Thank you, Fred, and number 1 and number 2, Freds. Thank you for your help, and have a great collecting day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. It was great being on your show.
Thank you.